Stop it. I've had it with this shit. You're sitting there night after night with your crusty tube sock on standby and feeling like a sack of potatoes. Pathetic, right? That's called a pattern interrupt. And it's just one of today's super cool and useful techniques that I teach my students when they feel triggered to act out on a behavior that they know doesn't serve them. Masturbation. When you fully understand how to use these powerful tools like this, they're one of the strongest actions you can take on your journey to crush your masturbation habit. What's up, bro? It's Eric. Welcome back to Morningwood Academy, where we dive deep into men's health and personal transformation. Tony Robbins is one of, if not the most, well-respected life changers on the planet. He's helped countless of people to make serious, lasting changes in their life, from quitting smoking to losing weight to dealing with drugs and other addictions. And today, we're going to dive into something that I found extremely helpful around how he helps people and how you can directly apply this to your life in your struggle with porn and masturbation habits. One quick side note, this is just a taste of what Tony offers. But as I said, it was extremely helpful in my own journey to remove porn and masturbation from my life. So that's why I want to share it with you today. And another thing, just before we move on, while these concepts and structures, you could say are Tony's, I've adapted them specifically for eliminating porn and masturbation. So obviously he doesn't travel around the country helping men stop jerking off so much. So this is where I'm picking up the torch and helping you connect the dots of his teachings with the results that you really want for your life. So the most obvious thing, but not always the easiest to implement, is that in order to change the results we're getting in life, we have to change our actions. Would you agree with that? If you want to stop jerking off to porn, you have to not press the play button, right? It seems so simple, but men are still pressing play even when they know they don't want to. We've all been there. 1 minute, you're calmly scrolling through your daily golf tips for the 18 handicapper, which suddenly morphs into women's fitness videos on the golf course. And the next thing you know, you're in a rabbit hole of slow motion bikini drivers for women with double D breasts, and the rest is history. So technique number one is something that I think is probably the most obvious but overlooked aspects of men who take actions on the things they really don't want to, like watching porn and masturbation. And I want to start off by asking you a serious question. Do you know what state you're in when you act out your trigger and watch porn? I'm serious. Have you ever consciously thought about what's going on in the exact moment before you do the deed? If you're honest with yourself, I think you would find it's either one way or another that you're just plain bored, or you're lonely, or you're sad, or you're stressed, or you're depressed, or maybe a combination of those, right? This is your state. You are bored. So you literally take actions to cure your boredom. You're lonely. So you, being the problem solver that you are, you take steps to solve your loneliness, right? You are an action taker. You should feel good about your ability to take steps in the directions of your goals. The problem is that the actions you're taking to cure your state are not a long-term solution to the problem. And even worse, they're actually feeding the fire as you fall deeper and deeper into the addiction. So what the hell, right? What's the point? Well, a study from the Journal of Sexual Medicine highlights that people who engage in mindfulness and state management techniques report fewer urges to engage in compulsive behaviors, including porn use. So if you want to beat the trigger, learn to manage your state. Tony would begin to tell you that being able to manage your state is the starting point to a healthy mind and a focused life. If you can learn how to change your state in an instant, chances are that you won't act on the normal action plan because your state won't call for it. How many times have you been out with your friends having fun and you just need to stop and just go rub one out real quick? It doesn't happen because your state is positive. You already know the states and the emotions when you get triggered the most. We just went over that, okay? So state management is a muscle, all right? You get better and stronger the more you work it. Are you gonna be perfect 100% of the time? Probably not, but can you improve over time? Hell yeah. And that is the name of the game, evolution. Going from one place or one set of circumstances in our lives to the next set of circumstances. And the best part is, it's by your own design. So, how do I understand what state I'm in? The quickest and the most effective way I found to really understand what state I'm in is every time I felt the trigger come on. After I did my replacement behavior and I got out of the environment, I'd get out my journal, right? And I'd literally write out, it's 11:30 p.m. I couldn't sleep, so I started scrolling. I started watching women in bikinis hitting long drives in slow motion, and I just realized how sad I am, being single and lonely. And this is the only kind of interaction from women that I can get. Did you catch that? I was sad and lonely. Then, after a few months of this, I had so many data points. I could tell exactly what triggered me. I knew exactly the emotions I was feeling, and once I knew the actual problems that led me to feel these lowered states of emotion, I could then take actions to erase them. And that is what Tony would say is the second part of the system. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that we're on the same page with this. So, state management. It's so important to catch yourself and understand that you can change your state in an instant. And when you successfully change your state, your desire to act on the trigger just a moment ago, it will go away because you won't feel drawn to act out when your state doesn't call for it. Like, I hope this makes sense. So, technique number 2, how do we change our state in an instant? In the very instant between a stimulus of a trigger and the response of the old faithful yet crusty tube sock in one hand and your computer mouse in the other. You know, how do you stop a steaming locomotive of that magnitude? Well, brother, it's easier than you might think. Tony calls these pattern interrupts. And as you might have guessed from the name, these help you to interrupt the patterns we subconsciously play out in our lives. I say subconsciously because I've been there. Sometimes the trigger happens and it's almost like a time warp. And before I knew it, the deed was done and I felt like a piece of trash. And I'm not talking about the simple like pattern interrupts about the 5 long breaths or just going like those can work, but in my studies, all right, they aren't quite enough. They're not quite strong enough for men to actually break their state around masturbation. All right, we need to level up the pattern interrupts if we're gonna have a fighting chance to overcome this as quick as possible. Now, some guys are gonna say, but what if there isn't time? One thing I do know is that there's always time for a pattern interrupt. There's always time. It's just a matter of if I'm strong enough to implement it, or if my life is just so numb that it's actually a conscious decision to act out, because even though jerking off to porn has caused me so much pain in my life, I'd rather feel pain than nothing at all, like the song, right? There is always space. There's always time. But it's hard to turn around an engine that's been going in one direction for so long. It's hard to justify all the time spent going one way. Even though I don't like where I am, look how long it's taken me to get there. If I start to change now, I'm gonna lose my identity. And so guys just say, I'll change tomorrow. I'll put in the effort it takes tomorrow. And that's the worst thing, because what does tomorrow look like when it arrives? Today. And now we can just say, well, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. And again and again. And when tomorrow's actions never comes, we say, shoot, I wished I would have started years ago. What's the use now? And it becomes this seesaw of the pain of the future and the pain of the past. And there is so much pain around this that we stay stuck because it seems almost impossible to overcome this. Well, brother, I have good news for you. This is the true value of pattern interrupts. They don't take a huge amount of effort, and they can be fun. They can be powerful, and they can truly change the direction of your life if you'll just learn how to apply them properly. So let's dive into some of the ones that I've personally used, and I know that they work wonders. First off, you and I, we're not different. We're both flesh and blood, and when I think about my deepest desires to overcome my porn addiction, I can trace it back to a deep emotional drive of self-improvement. Even my use of porn, when I would edge for hours, was rooted in my desire to give a girl a great experience in the bedroom. So I have this desire for improvement, and I believe that if you're still here watching this, then you have that same desire, and you want the best for your life. You just have some of the same difficulties that I struggled with, and that's what's connected our paths today. So with that, I want you to sit up in your chair, and I want you to think about your life 10 years from now, and you're still addicted to pornography and masturbation. Look at the wrinkles on your face. Look at how sad and depleted you are. You have no life force. Look at how single you are. No women give you any attention other than the ones that put you in the friend zone a long time ago. And you have nothing better going on, so you just let them put you there. Feel the emotions of never having what it takes to control your life. Now, fast forward 20 years from now. You're all alone. You never had any kids, and if you did have kids, they don't talk to you because you're always whining about life being so hard. Feel the sadness. Feel the pain of you staying on this track. And in an instant, if it's appropriate to do so, I want you to say, "Enough! I've had it with this shit!" And I want you to pound your chest like a gorilla. Tony says, emotion comes from motion. If you're honest with yourself, you might admit that when you feel triggered the most, a lot of times you're sitting or lying down on your bed scrolling. I guarantee you that you've never dropped your shorts and rubbed one out halfway through your morning run, right? So again, enough! I've had it with this shit. Move your body. The connection you just created with your undesirable future and the disgust you now associate to this act are powerful. Now, anytime you feel triggered, I want you to repeat this as you pound your chest like a gorilla and remember where those weak actions are taking you. So to tie this into state management, this is going from a sad or lonely or helpless, weak state and consciously flipping the switch to disgust. You're so disgusted with how your life is going to turn out if you keep repeating the same behaviors that keep you small and weak in your life, that you're no longer going to take those self-sabotaging actions. And because we already know you're an action taker, you're ready to solve your problem. Now, you have clarity and you have certainty that your state of disgust is now the problem. And your actions are aligned with making 100% sure that you're not going to end up like the vision that you just had. You have new clarity around your goal. This is powerful stuff, bro. Do you think you're strong enough to do this? Are you strong enough to overcome the triggers that it's going to continue to ruin your life? Negativity is a powerful motivator, but I don't want you to dwell in the negativity too long. Just feel the disgust and allow that energy to move you into the next room where you know you won't bring your crusty tube sock with you. This isn't rocket science, bro. Anyone can do this. And the deeper you allow your emotions to go and the more realistic and disgusting you make it, the better. The trick to canceling out your negative trigger is to make sure that the new trigger is even stronger and it actually does the job of changing your state correctly. Now, I want to make sure you leave this video with the understanding that you can and you will use these pattern interrupts to add even more fuel to your fire. I want to give you one more that's extremely powerful. I would use this one too. And what I found is that after a few uses, I was able to really keep my triggers at bay because of the level of emotions that I put into this. I know this is going to be difficult for some of you, but we're going to use the power of anger to change our state in less than 1 second, so you have absolutely zero excuses if you take this and your life seriously. So we're gonna set this up now, and the next time you get triggered, you can recall this and crush the trigger in its tracks. So now, I want you to play a movie in your mind of someone you love. Maybe your mom, or your sibling, or maybe it's your wife, or maybe it's your potential future wife. Whoever it is, really just see their face and understand that yes, you love them so much. Now see them walking down the side of a road, maybe a country road, where there's flowers growing. You see her slide her hands across the flowers. You love her so much. But seemingly, out of nowhere, some drunk teenagers come flying across the road and smash into her and kill her on impact. Now, you can see her bloody and lifeless body with no one but the vultures and the coyotes to find her. Now stay with me. In this moment, you're hopefully feeling a healthy amount of anger. Maybe even rage that these stupid kids killed her. They killed her. Get angry, get mad. Understand that you have the power to control your state. You have the power to change your actions. And you have the power to change your future if you would just snap out of your weak patterns and set up some safeguards. Set up your pattern interrupts. Understand the states that cause you the most trouble. Feeling lonely sucks, but feeling lonely at some point is a choice. You have the power to go to meetup groups. You have the power to do cold approach and meet women at the cafe. You have the power to go through the Morningwood Academy protocol with your wife and remove the blocks that would keep you lonely even when you're married. You are the only one in full control. Just remember, it's not about the destination. It's not about being porn free in a few months. You have to focus on today, right now, this moment. Are you going to keep floating through your life? Or are you going to take the reins back in your life and set up your pattern interrupts? Are you going to take control of your state? Are you going to do the work necessary to become the man who soon is 100% not using the weakest behavior of masturbation to solve your biggest challenges? Are you going to subscribe to this channel? Wait, what? Do it. Do it. The journey is where the magic lives. Masturbation freedom, it's a nice goal. But as you know, it's not just about talking about it that's going to make it real for you. It's about taking real steps and becoming that version of yourself along the way. Tony Robbins says that managing your state is key to long-term happiness and development. And the fastest way to control your state in less than 1 second is through pattern interrupts. Shifting the patterns that we play out in our lives on a daily basis, even subconsciously, and choosing how we want to feel. If only to feel anger for a very small period of time, but that gives us the energy boost we need to fight off the trigger chemicals that would have us stay small in our addictions and live a life we're not happy with, making love to a crusty tube sock. Learning how to implement these emotional pattern interrupts in the darkest moments will prove to be one of your strongest tools that you can lean on. And soon, through healthy repetition, your triggers will start to fade and slowly go away as you actually become stronger. The long-term pain you associate with acting out to porn will overpower the short-term pleasure it gives you. And as the scales tip in your favor, you have the resources to stay strong, even if the past you would have acted unconsciously. Break the patterns. Change the patterns. But start by interrupting the pattern. And learn how to control your state of mind so you're not a puppet in this game of life, but the one in control. I hope you learned something from Tony's teachings, and just remember that these are backed with so much scientific evidence and case studies that the only way you can fail is if you don't even try. If you need some help with these, or you have some personal questions, you can book a call with me and we can connect. In the meantime, if you're still watching this, then erect the thumbs up for me and stimulate the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos about men's health and personal transformation. And if you're really struggling with PIED, make sure you go through this playlist right here so that you can learn how to crush your PIED in the fastest time possible. I will see you in the next video, brother. Much love.